So Hollow Knight Silksong is the much anticipated sequel to a modern indie classic that's been a long time in the making. The original game was as close as you could get to a 2D Dark Souls thanks to its pulsating combat and ultra-challenging boss encounters, yet we haven't seen the Knight since 2017. Borrowing elements from Nintendo's iconic Metroid series, Silksong looks to expand on the strengths of its predecessor with more elegant platforming, way more monsters to smack down, and more intuitive healing abilities. This long-awaited follow-up shows that there's still plenty of appetite for brilliantly paced, sharply executed side-scrolling games in a medium that is increasingly obsessed with high-end graphical features. Even though it's gone through some developmental troubles, this Hollow Knight sequel is still on course to strike the sweetest of tunes when it releases on consoles and PC next year. So let's have a chat about it. As I'm Jules, this is FGS, and here are the 7 key things you need to know about one of the most exciting indie games in years, Hollow Knight Silksong. Number 7. The new hero is the old villain. Now there's a fresh hero in the latest Hollow Knight who ironically was essentially the villain in the first game. Hornet was a constant pain in the titular knight's side in the original Metroidvania homage, yet this time she's the protagonist. This enigmatic character is haunted by Silk and Song, according to developer Team Cherry. See what they did there with their title? Oh, cheeky! Which in story terms means that she's probably in a bad place. Kidnapped and stranded in a kingdom known as Farloom, it's your job to help Hornet ascend the top of this new environment so she can escape and find out who whisked her away against her will. Number 6. The delayed release might actually be a good sign. Now, Team Cherry has been cooking up this sequel for 4 years, though production on the game hasn't always been smooth. As the scale of this follow-up expanded, the studio decided to push back the original release date, which was initially set for early 2023. Now, usually delays are bad news, but in Silksong's case, it actually looks like it will definitely benefit the final game. The extra time the developer has been granted to finish this follow-up has meant the original adventure's already striking art style looks much more eye-arousing. Considering how polished and razor-sharp the combat in the first Hollow Knight is, we're fully expecting Silksong to be one of the most finely crafted titles in the Metroidvania genre. Number 5. Flips and acrobatics are core to the gameplay. While the knight in the first game was hardly a slow coach, Hornet makes her predecessor look downright sloth-like. Team Cherry has seemingly gone to town in making this graceful character as athletic as possible. As such, she's able to effortlessly vault over her enemies like an elite-level gymnast. The trailer footage that we've seen so far has shown Hornet can flip over colossal foes with relative ease, which will hopefully make this sequel a little less painful to complete than the rather brutal but brilliant first game. The original Hollow Knight is a high-paced action title that feels lovely to control, so the notion of this sequel being even more responsive, well, that is a tantalizing prospect. So that is pretty acrobatic, but you know what, my friend? You can flip the switch, and by that I mean you can click the button to subscribe to the FGS YouTube channel where you can stay up to date on all of our daily gaming content, my friends, and also you can stay up to date with all of the weekly deep cut laden lists that I put out here on my new home. So do us a favor, subscribe now and become part of the action. Number 4. It's a punishing Souls-like, but not a cruel game. The original Hollow Knight is one tough game. It's basically a 2D Dark Souls, so death is an unrelenting threat. Thankfully, for those of us out there with sausage fingers, Team Cherry is throwing us a bone via a more forgiving healing feature. Unlike the knight who would slowly rebuild their HP over time, Hornet can instantly recover 3 chunks of her health nodes while on the move. Predictably, there is a downside to these new recovery skills, and by that I mean that Silksong is still going to be one of the most seriously challenging games out there. Regaining Hornet's health bar is actually tied to a silk meter, and as soon as you put a plaster on her boo-boos, the bar will immediately empty, meaning that you're going to have to regain the right to heal up quickly by beating enemies in order to replenish this handy life-saving feature. Number 3. It's going to be a Day 1 Game Pass release. Though Hollow Knight Silksong is very much a multi-platform game, crucially for the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S owners, it's also coming to Xbox Game Pass. This means that if you're already a subscriber to Microsoft's excellent subscription service, you'll be able to play Silksong on Day 1 at no extra cost. For a time, there was some confusion over whether this acrobatic sequel would be an Xbox exclusive, but thankfully for PlayStation owners, that's not the case. Team Cherry has confirmed that Silksong is headed to both PS5 and PS4. And there's also good news for Switch and PC gamers as well, as Hornet's Adventure is also coming to Nintendo's handheld hybrid alongside Steam, Good Old Games, and the Humble Store. Number 2. DLC or not to be? That is the question. Now, Silksong was initially intended to be a mere DLC companion piece of the OG Hollow Knight, but Team Cherry expanded the scope of the initial expansion, eventually deciding to make it a full-blown sequel. Now, this was a big call from the studio, but it's one that's now easy to understand when you see how much new content is being crammed into Silksong. Not only are there over 150 new enemy types and fearsome bosses to contend with, but unlike the Knight, Hornet is able to craft weapons and tools to help her capture and plunder items from fell foes. Now, this follow-up to the brilliant original has been baking in the oven for a long time, with Team Cherry announcing Silksong all the way back in 2019, so we are expecting great things, and it looks set to deliver. And number 1, you don't need a new console to enjoy Silksong. Now, refreshingly, gamers who can't afford to fork out for a PS5, Xbox Series X, or high-end PC aren't actually being left out in the cold when it comes to Silksong. Thanks to the relatively undemanding nature of its 2D side-scrolling design, those of you who are still clinging onto your PS4s and Xbox One consoles will still be able to enjoy Hornet's stab-happy sequel. Considering the first Hollow Knight played flawlessly on Switch, Sony and Microsoft's last-gen machines should have no trouble at all running Silksong at buttery smooth frame rates, and considering how challenging the first game is, minimal input lag is likely going to be key to besting the baddies in this demanding 2D Souls-like sequel. So there we go, my friends. That's everything you need to know about Hollow Knight Silksong, one of the most anticipated games of 2024. And if you want to know more about next year's exciting games, well, tap that subscribe button, because we have daily gaming content that you can stay up to date with. And also, you get to be a part of my weekly deep cut laden lists called The Deep Cut with Jules Gill. Baby! I hope to see you over there, my friends. So take it easy, take care of yourself, and I hope that you're enjoying the rest of this year or the beginning of the next one. I'm recording this in the past, so I have no idea. I'm in the ether right now. Either way, hope you're having a good one. Big love, kiss on the top of the head for you. Catch you later. Bye.